Cool.
All right, it says you are live. All right, but I like to just confirm this.
Yeah, it shows live.
And all right, welcome everyone. My name is TD, aka TDavis, if you're in Upland. And I'm joined tonight by my special guest, Tall James. How you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing real well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for joining. So what we have going on today is the game of Upland, which is my personal oldest NFT project that I've been in. I joined in August of 2020 and was pretty active right from the gate. How about you, TJ? How long have you been in Upland?
I joined April of 2021, so not super early, but early enough. Right when Oakland was launching, it was pretty much where I got in. My first property was in Fresno. I think I sold it pretty quick, and then I got over and minted quite a bit in Oakland.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, and I remember that at the time there wasn't a whole lot of documentation, but there was the Discord, which I joined, and that was also the first my first installation of the app. I wasn't familiar with it. I'm not a gamer, I guess by nature, and yeah, after that, after I joined the Discord, it just took off from there. So here's what we have going on. I'm going to share this link and shout out our friend, the Turbo. Do you know the Turbo, Tall James?
I do not know the Turbo.
He's an Upland OG. Like he's been in since like 2019. So shout out Turbo. He has created, so I feel like I'm seeing maybe comments, but not people commenting. I don't know what's going on. There we go. There's Manga. Hey, what's up, man? So the Turbo created the Upland Academy, upland.academy. I just posted the link and we'll throw it up on the screen there for everybody watching. And I'm not sure if he's kept it up to date, but in terms of being like just a guideline for us it's got great bullet points. Like that's what I'm getting at. So that's what I'm going to be referencing here as we kind of go down. And I also have my own notes, but we'll kind of just talk through it all together. So here on the screen, as you can see, I have the play.upland.me URL in a browser. One of the first things that really attracted me to Upland. So at the time I was perusing blockchain dApps, and so dApp is DAPP, stands for decentralized application. And I was perusing these websites that were highlighting like everything that was going on, and it was primarily Ethereum at the time. In fact, I think it was only Ethereum at the time, and I was looking at it more from a developer standpoint than it was a gamer. I was interested in developing dApps. And there was an ad for this crazy llama game, and it just grabbed my attention, and I clicked it. And the first thing that grabbed my attention was the fact that you could download it on mobile, which was unheard of at the time. Like nobody, like first of all, the dApps were horrible back then. They were just awful. The code was good. The UI, the graphics, everything were just pretty terrible. Like I know you know a lot of games on like Wax and such, and they're not all that great in terms of like playability. Just imagine like 2 years ago, it was pretty bad.
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I went to the Play Store because that's the only place where you should be downloading apps from the Android Play Store.
Unless you're an Apple guy like me, and then you download from the store.
I had to throw that one out. We've been we go back and forth on it a bit. I just have to get my dig in there. And I downloaded it and got started, and just jumped right in from the gate. I think I started with a $20 UpX purchase, which we're gonna go over, and from there just took off. I took off. Everything took off. So what we see here, like I was saying, is the browser. So the URL is play.upland.me, where you can access it from a browser, or if you have the app, you obviously it's just a native app. Just open it with the icon, and what you will see the first time you go to it is going to give you either a tutorial or the ability to just create a new account. So we're going to go ahead and do that and just kind of walk through that process. So we're going to say click tutorial, and I'm going to say sign up. You know what? I don't know if I actually can get past this, all of this. Let me think. Well, let's take a look here. That's let's go 8. Right, and really quickly, let me see if I can't get this set up on an email here.
Yeah, this part might be a little tricky because
yeah, I guess I
don't want
really
multi-accounts.
Yeah. So talk about multi-accounting while I work on this, and then we'll kind of touch on like what a visitor account is and how what I'm doing is not going to really matter in a week.
Absolutely. So for you guys that are new to NFT or play to earn games, one of the challenges that developers have that I think Upland does a decent job at is keeping multi-accounts from being there. And there's reasons for that. The main reason why you don't want to have multi-accounts in Upland is because when you first start, you get a FSA advantage, which is a Fair Start Act advantage, which means a certain number of properties in new city launches are reserved for FSA players. FSA status goes away when you hit a certain dollar amount. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Fair Start Act is basically to give noobs a chance against whales, to put it simply. And so the reason why TD might have a hard time showing you this first part is because they don't want the same person to have multiple accounts, because that would be giving potentially a whale the Fair Start advantage again, and you're only supposed to get that Fair Start advantage one time.
Cool. All right. I think I'm good here. Hold on a second. Let me see if it'll let me sign in. So 1 second here. We'll have to edit this up for. We have a question from the audience. What blockchain is Upland on? And that is the EOS blockchain, which, if you're familiar with Wax, you'll know that Wax is a fork of EOS, and Upland and Wax actually have a lot more connections than just that. There's a collectible series of Upland cards on the Wax network.
I don't have very many of those. I think I bought one epic or legendary, whatever, the second to top one, but I didn't end up getting a Block Explorer one, so I don't even know if I got a good one. But I decided to get one, and it's imported into the game, and I don't know if that was a smart thing to do or not, but that's what I did. There's a lot of things that are still unknowns as far as this game goes, but as far as the property trading aspect of the game, that's pretty pure at this point, and it works well. You can do really well. I'm doing a live stream. That was my niece.
I told James' niece. All right, I'm going to give this one more chance to try to get this logged in, and if it doesn't work, we're just going to move on without the new user. sign up experience, and we'll just edit all of this out. All right. I anticipated this being a lot smoother and easier than this actually ended up being.
While you're doing that, TD, I'm going to just bounce over because I know we do the referral code chain or whatever. I'm going to run over and grab mine real quick and just get it copied.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
All right. Yay, I win. Can you log in with Anchor? So no, and we're going to talk about the accounts and how it all works here in a little bit. I know that we'll probably have some like higher technical questions from some of our audience members, but you cannot log into the game via any means other than the app itself. So you have to go to either play.upland.me or through the app to take actions in the game, right? And so Plax, as I know that you're very skilled in the Wax blockchain, and so you know that you can call actions and do things from smart contracts on Wax, and you technically can also on EOS, but you cannot with Upland, and we'll talk about why. But the quick answer is it's a custodial wallet that you do not have access to your private keys. So Upland has your private keys, and we'll talk about UPX and how it is a cryptocurrency. I saw a video that somebody posted the other day saying that it was, and if a courier's watching this or hears it, he'll laugh because it's like a really old debate. But yes, UPX is technically a cryptocurrency, just like any other token on any other chain. But we did get started here. So here I can see that it's having me select what is called a block explorer. It's just a fancy word for avatar. I'm going to pick what do you think? The grapes, Tall James?
Yeah, grapes work.
Yeah,
I use that in another NFT game,
cool.
Town Star on Gala.
Sweet. All right. So I just started up and it gave me a 4,500 UPX bonus. So that's free money, right? That I'm getting just for signing up. The UPX to USD conversion rate is $1 equals 1,000 UPX. So this is basically $4.50 that they're giving this account simply just for signing up. So Bold Magic says UPX is a crypto token, not a cryptocurrency. I might agree with that because I would have to. You probably would elaborate on currency, and then I would say, "Yep, you're right. That is correct." But it isn't.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right. So here it is. Welcome to Upland. Getting started. Welcome to Upland, where you can own the world you build, create, and participate in a new economy built on the blockchain. In Upland, you'll have true ownership of your in-game assets, where you don't just play for fun, you play to earn. You can click done. I kind of paused there if you guys didn't notice that, and I don't really want to get into why, but like I said earlier, they're custodial wallets, so I think that's a little bit contradictory there. All right, Upland is partnered with the NFLPA, so that's all of the football players, American football players in the NFL.
National Football League.
Yep. Yeah. And we'll probably not touch this because this is somewhat of a more advanced topic beyond the scope of what we can fit into an hour. But just know that they are partnered with some quote unquote big names. And it's been pretty awesome seeing that. So, all right, that just highlights all of that. Is it going to give me another pop-up? I don't think so. So now I think it should ask me where I want to start at. It gives you a brief overview of what to do. We're going to cover all of this, so I can just get through it. And the first thing it should is, yep, there we go. It's asking me where I want to start in. So Tall James, what's the answer here? Where am I going?
As close to LA as possible. So I would say, if it gives you LA, then LA, but if not, probably Bakersfield, because it's only a 40 UPX train ride.
Excellent. And so it is not, and I will opt for Bakersfield. Just for any of our new users out there, there is a little description under each city, and it gives you the I don't know if you guys can see that. It gives you the minimum property price. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Yeah, I sure can. But yeah, that's not helpful. So Nashville is 12,348 UPIX to mint a property, and again, we'll talk about what that means. Kansas City is 7,400. You said Bakersfield. Bakersfield is sold out, but
It's still where I would go.
Yeah, it's definitely where we would go starting out, like literally starting out right now. That's where you're going to want to go, because like Tall James said, it's going to be the cheapest to get to LA, and that's really what this episode is about. How do you get started with LA? So yeah, let's just go ahead and click Bakersfield, and we'll get there. So yeah, as Mount Doomy says, it tells you we've sold out, which is crucial.
What the hell?
And Boulder Magic, yeah, I would agree. This is great to see what it looks like for new players. Agreed. Does it tell you how many are left? It does not, but we will. I'm going to show you guys a community built tool that will help you with that as well. All right, so here I gotta do that. So there's some basic controls that you need to know what everything does. So on the top left, if I click on my avatar, you can see my profile comes up. And if you're just starting out and you're not quite sure if you're going to put any money into it, this is going to be super important for you to know. This big green button here that says renew your Upland visa, you need to click that every 7 days. It gives you the time countdown. So says your visa expires in 6 days, 23 hours and 53 minutes. If that elapses without you clicking that green button, all of the properties that you bought get recycled back into the community, and they're gone, and there's nothing that can be done about it. And it could be really sad if that happens, especially if you put a lot of work, especially with LA opening, and it's going to happen. There's going to be tons and tons of visitor accounts that expire, and the properties get released back into the community, and they're going to get gobbled up immediately. And hopefully that user didn't care about Upland in their account, because there's nothing that can be done. It shows you your UPIX balance here, 4,500. That's what we got for starting. Shows you your properties, collections. We'll talk about those in a little bit. And if you had any collections, this is where they will fill in at. Top middle, your UPIX balance again. On the right, you have your Get UPIX button. This is where you would go to purchase UPIX. And again, the conversion rate is $1 for 1,000 UPIX. The minimum amount you can purchase is 5,000. The maximum on mobile is 100K. So it would stop right there. And that has to do with like apps permissions and Google and that other company not wanting huge transactions, I guess, going through apps. But if you're on the web browser, you can whale out. They will let you buy up to 25,000 USD in UPIX, which is pretty crazy, because that's a lot of money.
But some people have done it.
Oh yeah, they do it like at least once every month, maybe every other month. There's a landmark sale, and the landmarks start at about 20,000 USD, and yeah, the buyer probably doesn't have that on them.
Very, very true.
Yeah. So yeah, this is where you would go. Your buying options are going to be credit card, PayPal, And you can also use a third-party service, which I believe is still, let's see if it's still Utrust. Yep. Utrust. So if you want to pay in crypto, you can. These tokens change periodically. And I think Dash is still, oh, they have their own token now. Wow. Yeah, it's been a while. I think Dash is, as far as gas fees, if you know what those are, if you're familiar with crypto and blockchains, I think Dash is the cheapest as far as moving it. But that's how you would pay with crypto. And then, of course, you could pay with PayPal or your credit card. What's important to know, somebody asked in the audience, what do you get with a referral? So a referral link, which you can find in this upper left here, this blue text here. And here's a pro tip. Not every time you see blue text in Upland, but a lot of the time, if you see blue text, it means you can click it and there's something behind that blue text. So if I click this one here, I see that's where I'll find my referral link. If I click the blue text on visitor, I see that it gives me more information on that. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a good rule of thumb. If the text is blue, you could probably click it. It will probably do something. The current referral bonus is still 50%, which is wild. The referrer and the referee both get 50% of your first cash purchase. So cash, when I say cash, that means PayPal, crypto, credit card, whatever. But it's only on the first one, and you can't make any, like, you can't make a smaller purchase first and then use your, it's literally the first one. And if you have any issues with the referral link, you'll just reach out to support at upland.me, and I'll post that up for the audience.
Also to note that your best bang for your buck is the $50 one, because you'll get, you'll buy your $50 and then the referral, and you will each get $25, which will keep you as an FSA player, which is important to maximize the start of your journey into Upland.
Right. And so I want to just highlight to Boulder here what Boulder said. If you are new, it's best to stay as FSA. You can buy so much more. Couldn't agree more. It does make a new release less stressful. I don't know if I agree there. It's going to be stressful as for everybody, but I hear what you're saying. So for me, I would always go with the $50 plus bonus, 50%, and start with 75K UPX. And that is 100% a great suggestion. There may or may not be some tricks that could let you go higher. I'm certainly not going to endorse or teach you guys them. Maybe if you DM me and ask, I might tell you, but Boulder gives great advice here, and I would probably go with that.
Yep, I agree.
Awesome. Yeah, still stressful, but less since FA's last minute. And this is super important for LA. I can tell you that today during the stress test, it was like about a 4-to-1, right? So the FSA buyers were getting 4 properties to the 1 non-FSA, at least in the group of people that I talked to throughout the day. That was about the average, and that's a big deal, especially when it's going to come to potential collection areas, which again, we'll talk about what collections are. All right, finishing up the UI. All right, this is the Upland events. This just opens a new tab and will tell you what's going on at upland.me/events. Paste that into the chat. And the next one is this little map icon, and I can show you what that does. So when you click this, it will bring up, that was a terrible demonstration. Let me do that again. All right, so there's no border lines, there's no neighborhood names. When I click the button, boom, there they all are. This is called the points of interest button. And then the bottom right, you're going to want to use that pretty much all the time. I don't know why you could turn it off now that I think about it. Probably latency. and speed, but for the most part, you'll want that on all the time. Are the LA FSA tomorrow owned by anyone, or can we just find a property and buy it outright? So that's a great question, and I can go ahead and answer that now because we can kind of just bounce around on everything. Speaking of latency, mine's terrible. All right, so there's some colors that you need to know about. An unminted property, aka an unowned property, is going to be light gray, but not the lightest gray. There's a shade that's lighter, and that lighter shade means it's locked and can't be minted at all by anybody. It's locked by Upland, and they're saying, no, you can't. Nobody can buy this. The next shade up is unminted, usually unlocked, and to buy it, you just have to be near it. And we'll talk about how that will happen. Light blue means owned. So I can click on this and I can see that T123456 owns that property. If I were able to buy it, and so again, if this was gray and I need to be near it, it will turn like really bright neon green, like way brighter than this green here. And anything that's really bright neon green, you should be able to buy it. So
I like to call that mint green. It's mintable. It's mint green.
Yeah. There you go. Unminted and shade. Got to take notes. Yep. I'll try to post a picture of the two different shades in our Discord if I can find a good example. And if you're not in our Discord, it's discord.gg/NFTGamerTV. The next color is the dark green. So the dark green means that it's for sale. So the owner, it's owned, and the owner is wanting to sell it. And as you can see here, Shane X is selling this property for about 14,000 UPIX. Oh, this is a great point, right? If you're on mobile, I don't know. I've rarely ever, I don't even think I even have Upland installed on my newest phone, to be honest with you, because I never go on it there because there's just too much missing compared to the web version. But I understand that not everybody has access to desktop, laptop, etc., and their only option is mobile. If that's the case, I would highly suggest not even bothering with the app. It might be easier to set up your account through the app, but then to go into a Chrome browser, because again, we're on an Android phone, go into a Chrome browser and just go up to play.upland.me and access the game through your phone's browser, because you'll get these all of the other options. Now, what Masho TTV here is pointing out is that some properties are listed for USD, and this is a good time for me to hit our next UI button here. So this little building, what this will do is it will bring up all of the properties that are for sale. So they're owned and being sold by their owner, and it's in the view of, I don't think you guys can see my mouse. Oh yeah, you can. So in my view, right? So my four corners of the resolution of my screen, it's going to take everything that it can see there, and it's going to show me all of the properties that are for sale. And this is super, super helpful, because what I can do is I can say, like, tell me what the cheapest property in Bakersfield is, and that's all I have to do. Now I can see the floor of Bakersfield is $9.80. Or if I wanted to focus it the best I could on like this neighborhood here, Rio Bravo. So that's basically all of Rio Bravo there. I can click it and then I can see that, you know, $13,999 is the lowest there. And it's just super helpful to know that that's how it works. It's taking what you can see in your view and showing you all the for sale properties.
That was the biggest learning point I ever got from a video, was when you showed me that TD when you were giving away props. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because I use that all the time now, and I like to flip the floor.
Yeah, it's great for just letting you, like, you know, I sell at the floor slightly below just because I'm impatient and I just want to get my property sold when I am selling, and I use it all the time. All right, Boulder has a huge comment here. Let me read it. When the 50% was not capped at 50,000 UPIX, so that's true. The referral bonus is what he's referring to. It was not always capped at $100 buy-in, and we were seeing like ridiculous referrals. They finally scaled it back. Unless maybe it is capped at 100K, but I think it is 50K. Yeah, so the bonus is 50K, which would mean $100 buy. So 100K UPIX buy gets both the refer and the referee 50K. But when there was no cap on the bonus and you could buy in for $1,000, you can get a bonus of 500,000. Might have said it was worth it to buy in, but with the cap and the bonus, I think there's much more value staying at FSA compared. Yeah, I would agree 100% with this comment. Yeah, great comment, great point. I agree 100% with that. FSA, especially tomorrow, is super valuable, and you don't want to lose it.
Right.
All right, and our last UI button is the search. Let me see. Give me a Bakersfield address. You got one?
7600 Saddleback, maybe.
Yeah, look at that. All right. It pulled in the address and it takes me right to it when I click on it. So boom, there we are. My man Tall James owns it. All right. So the next thing that we should talk about is how you move in Upland. And there's really only two answers to this. You either float around aimlessly, which is what I'm doing now, and I missed a button. I missed a bunch of buttons, but we'll get to them. In the bottom left here, if I click this little chess piece, it will center my guy. It'll go find me and put me in the center. So there I am. And I'm just floating around, and you can see my trail. This trail is important to some degree. It's also important to know that there's an invisible halo around my block explorer here. And I don't think it's circle. I think somebody actually proved with some crazy math that it's an oval, but that invisible halo is where the properties will turn bright green if they're within that halo, and that's your range. And do you have anything to add to that?
No, except for when your block explorer is within range, you'll see things go from gray to mint green tomorrow. But just because it's mint green doesn't mean that when you click it and you get to the buy button and try to do the CAPTCHA that it's yours, because you got to think that, you know, there's 100, maybe 200 people going for that same property at the same time.
Right.
And so
Don't think you're doing something wrong.
don't think you're doing anything wrong. It's just the way it is when a lot of people want the same thing, and lagginess happens. It can be frustrating, but it's also oh so rewarding if you mint a property you really want.
Right. And so LC221 asks, what do you do if you can't buy an FSA? So this is a current issue. It's part of the reason why LA is releasing. It's such a huge city. And they're releasing it is because there's really nothing to buy for anybody right now. I think only like 3 cities have unminted properties in them. Yep. And some of them might not even be non-FSA, meaning anybody over a net worth of 100K can't buy them either. I guess I'd have to ask you, Alcy, what city are you in? I'm going to guess that you're in LA, and I would be shocked if the one stress test neighborhood wasn't completely sold out and there's nothing else until tomorrow right now. Oh, you were in Bakersfield. So Bakersfield is sold out. If you're seeing any gray properties there, they're like weird one-offs. They could potentially be like an ultra rare collection that's just locked. Do you know the answer to that? Why?
I do. Actually, in one of my neighborhoods there in Bakersfield,
which is where we just were checking. That we have several FSA properties that are locked, and every once in a while, an FSA will open, and someone will come in and buy it, and then it's our challenge to try to figure out who that is and get them integrated into our neighborhood. So, but it doesn't happen very often. I'd say maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep. Cool. All right. Roard says, if this is your first city opening, it's going to be laggy and frustrating. 100%. Do not expect LA opening to be an enjoyable, seamless experience. Expect it to be stressful. Expect things to not go your way and to fail. I mean, a few people will come away from it and say, Trent, what are you talking about? That was awesome. Let's do it again. It was seamless and enjoyable. But for the majority of people, it's gonna be frustrating. There's a lot of custom block explorers that Upland has made and given away as a concession commemorating disastrous city openings. Brooklyn is one that comes to mind. It was just awful. Oakland, I feel like, followed Brooklyn, and they released Oakland, and it was just a mess. I'm not really expecting it. I got to knock on wood, or maybe just shut up about it. I'm hoping that they have all of these issues under wraps now. Let me scroll through the comments here.
I'd say that city by city, it's getting a little better. I mean, there's still some issues, and there probably always is going to be because the growth is just so explosive. But when I consider what it was to Staten Island, for instance, I mean, this was pretty much a dream as far as I could tell.
Yeah. We have, so Roard says, the one neighborhood that opened in LA as a stress test today, it did sell out very, very quickly. So like I said, if you're in LA, there's likely nothing to buy. I mean, not likely, I'm sure there's not. And yes, LA tomorrow opens up. All right. So how do you move around? You're either floating aimlessly, and this is important. So when LA opens tomorrow, you're going to want to figure out how the opening is going to go for you. And if you've never done this before, you're not going to have any idea, right? My suggestion right now at this specific time, what I would do is I would find your guy on the map. So I would click on the chess piece, right? I would then click on your guy, and then you see these 3 buttons here. I would click the far right one, and that's going to show you your sends, and I'm going to explain what they are right now. But if this number isn't close to 11, because 11 is your maximum, I would highly suggest getting on a train to either Bakersfield or San Francisco. I chose San Fran because I have a ton of properties there. If you're just starting out, you should have close to 11 because this is a brand new account with 11. But if you've been playing for a little while, but definitely aren't a pro by any means, I would check your sends, because this is going to be critical, and there's not going to be much time left for you to do anything about it. It's like, now is the time to do that. Get on a train, go to another city, or I think you can gobble up sends in that one minted neighborhood. But I mean, it's only that one neighborhood. They don't populate very quickly. Tall James, did you happen to be over Montecito or wherever that
I am not. I'm actually.
We could probably go look really quick.
Yeah.
I would suggest just going to another city, and I'll explain why. Your strategy is going to be one of 2 things, and that is to either go to LA, disembark from either the train terminal or the plane terminal, and float until it opens, and just roll the dice on the RNG. Wherever you are when they unlock is where you are, and that's what you get. And I've seen that work out, believe it or not. Somebody's going to be over something like highly desirable and just have that kind of luck. The other option is going to be to sit in the train terminal up until like either right before it releases, or when it releases, depending on what your objective is. So here's the train terminal here. There's going to be properties to mint all around here. And this is in, I believe, downtown. Is that right? Yep.
That's correct. Downtown, you got Chinatown to the north,
Right.
and the northeast, you got Koreatown, and then
Right.
also Hollywood.
Okay, so Chinatown is a collection in both Chicago and Manhattan. San Francisco, it's funny, somebody pointed out to that Chinatown in San Fran is the oldest and largest Chinatown there is in the United States, but it is not a collection neighborhood.
Go figure.
Manhattan is, Chicago is, and it's highly anticipated that Chinatown is going to be a collection, which we still haven't explained, but we will, I promise. It's right here above the train terminal. It's going to sell out in literal seconds. Like, this will be by far the fastest sold out and the quickest and the first, without a doubt. If you want to take a gamble on that, then you're probably going to want to sit into the terminal until like right before it releases, and then disembark, and then let your block explorer, let the RNG gods, take you in their hands and send you where you're going. If it sends you up, then you're going to have a chance to mint. If it sends you to the left, right, or any other direction, really, you'll get an opportunity at downtown, but you might want to time it. And I don't, there's really no other good way to tell you how to time it other than, I don't know, it comes with experience. Tell James, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem with trying to time it perfectly is Upland will sometimes push it back 5 minutes or whatever, and your perfect plan gets spoiled because your tail disappears. So you just want to make sure that you have at least 5 minutes, I would say, of a tail, maybe 10 minutes of a tail, so that you can not only pick up properties exactly where your block explorer is, but also where your tail is.
All right. J71322 asks, I have 2 sends, but I'm in Brooklyn. How can I send him to my Fresno property? We will talk about that in just a bit. Let's see. Tons in LA at the moment. All right, great. So these paper airplanes here on the map, if those are in your invisible halo and that in your range, you'll be able to click on them and you'll get a random amount of sends between 1 and 6, I think, or maybe 8. Have you ever seen 8?
It is 8, but I've never collected 8. You'd have to be down to 3, right? Or less than 3 and then get 8. Yeah.
Okay. Poison tells us that Montecito has a ton. Duty said the same thing.
Yep.
So Rorts asks a great question, right? So do the city stations have spots to get back? If you disembark and you're going to just take your plan is like, I'm just gonna wander when LA opens, and wherever I'm at is where I'm at. But then you change your mind and you're like, nah, let me go for Chinatown. What will likely be the case right before the release, probably an hour or 2 before the release, you'll go to click on going to the terminal. Whoops, wrong way. And see how it says here, shows you how many tickets are remaining. Ooh, that was awful. I just totally screwed up my resolution. What are you guys seeing right now from my screen?
A blank screen.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah. While you're waiting on that, I'll answer the guy in Brooklyn's question, because he's kind of got to get after it. What you want to do is you want to collect 9 sends in Brooklyn as quick as you can by just scouring and looking and sending to a property, collecting the airplane. As soon as you get to 11, then you're going to have to catch a train from Brooklyn to Manhattan, and then go out to the airport in Manhattan, and then catch a plane from Manhattan or from New York City to LA. So you've got quite a bit to do there. And I think that's like an hour, 15-minute or something plane trip. So you don't want to get caught trying to do this in the morning. I would definitely suggest doing that tonight. Let's see if there's anything else on. So J7, let me know if you've got any questions regarding that. Yeah, Mount Doomy, you're right about Chinatown and Oakland not being one. While I'm waiting on TD, I guess I'll just kind of talk about collections a little bit. It's all speculation. They do it in two different ways. They do it in vanilla mode, or they do it in non-vanilla mode. And this one is having it in vanilla mode, which basically means we have no idea what the collections are. And so everyone just speculates what it is. And Upland almost always throws us for a loop. And we've got collections going from different levels of rarity, which basically give you a collection bonus when you finish the collection. And then you also get a boost bonus on your UPX earnings for having that collection activated. So you basically have your city one where you own three properties in one city for that. So whatever that would be, like Los Angeles or whatever, and then you have three properties in Los Angeles, and that would unlock that, and then it would go up from there all the way up to ultra rare. And so I don't want to get too deep into it, because without showing you the colors and everything, it could definitely get a little confusing. But I'm trying to do my best to hold it down while TD's doing his thing, and I'm also reading the chat here. The minimum sins required to buy a property would be 1. You just only have to type in your address and send to that, but that's only if you get there and that property is mintable. So as I said earlier, if you try to buy something, even though it shows to be mintable, it does not guarantee that you are going to win that property or own that property. In fact, that happened to me today, where I was buying off the secondary, and someone else that was on a voice channel with me also bought it on the secondary, because we found it quite a bit cheaper than the floor. And we both got the property celebration that we owned the property. We both showed it to be dark blue, that it was our property. And then some third person was the one that actually ended up getting the property. So it can be a little confusing and frustrating. But your short answer is you only need 1 send to buy a property. And if you're buying off the secondary, you don't need any sends. You can just buy a property off the secondary right now if you wanted to. Not what I would advise.
Check.
And Rorts is absolutely correct. You can also buy anything you're floating over, and not use any sins whatsoever. So that's also another answer. But typically, I usually will end up sending somewhere and buying where it is, not just buying what I'm floating over. It just depends on how lucky I got. And TD, we still can't hear you.
Check.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah. All right. My bad. I had some technical issues, but I'm back. What were we talking about?
Oh, someone just asked how. Well, I talked about a couple things, but someone asked about how many sins you needed to buy a property. And yes, it's in chat, and it definitely needs to be said that you can only send to a property that has been minted. You cannot send to a property that is unminted. So that why what you buy, what you're floating by, can be a good strategy.
Okay, so this is good. How do I buy property when it opens? It's going to be basically anything that is within your range.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, there's an invisible halo around your block explorer as he floats along. And as that invisible halo comes in contact with these gray properties here, as you can see, this is kind of tricky. Don't fall for this one. If you get near this, in fact, I should probably go there. You said it was 40 UPX. let's learn how to travel first really quick so I can show these guys some other stuff. One of the questions earlier was, I'm in Brooklyn. How do I get out of Brooklyn and get to LA?
I did talk to him. I talked him through that one.
Cool. All right. So it's basically the same thing here. I'm going to go to the terminal, and you actually have to click it twice. You click it once.
We can't see your screen, TD.
Oh, my bad. All right. You click the terminal.
Make sure he hears you.
Once to get near it. And then once you're near it, you got to scroll in a little bit. Click it again, and then that'll give you your city options. Is that 15 seconds? No, that's minutes, right?
I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are awesome.
Yes.
Poison loves to point out how when I'm wrong, it's his favorite thing to do. All right, yeah, 15 minutes. So we can probably talk through this. But when I arrive, I will land right here, and it's going to ask me if I want to disembark. Again, this is going to be all up to you what your strategy is tomorrow. My advice would be to sit tight. Like, just I would stay in the train terminal or the plane terminal until maybe an hour or two, and then also you're gonna wanna know if you can send to anything to try to reroute yourself, because the only way to choose which direction you're going when you're floating is to hope that when you send to that property that it goes in one of the 360,000 possible directions. Like it's so many, and they're just, you should ever see the send urchins, Tall James is what we call them. I'll have to get a picture.
I have it.
Yeah, it's well, you know what? I don't think you can see the send urchin anymore, because they don't leave your trail used to stick around for I think forever, right? And you just would keep sending back to a property, hoping it to go right, but every time it went left by a little bit more.
Yeah,
if you know what an urchin looks like that's what the property would end up looking like.
That's
the
funny.
Spiked urchin from all these failed attempts to go right when you walk, and it keeps going left. So it's all RNG. Once you send to the property, it's strictly RNG on what direction it starts floating. And you might want to play the game of, hoping that it floats up to Chinatown or to a specific direction in downtown or wherever. I think are there any neighborhoods worthy of
Hollywood's not too far. Koreatown's not too far.
From the plane terminal?
Oh, from the plane terminal, you got Inglewood basically is going to be, I've heard rumor that it might be its own little collection. So if that's the case, then Inglewood may not be too bad. Long shot. And the reason why I say long shot is because if you somehow are able to go south without having a lot of turns, you could get down to that beach area south there, real close to Long Beach. I think it's Delray.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, let me restore this window. All right, so I'm on the train and I'm traveling. Like I said, sends for tomorrow are critical, especially if you've been playing this game or your account is, not brand new. You're going to want to check your send count and make sure that you're as stocked as possible. You want to make a decision on how you're going to do things. And as silly as this might sound, you might want to leave. If you're in Los Angeles, you might want to leave and come back to decide that you want to stay in the terminal up until the last minute. Because I think I said this earlier, what's going to be very challenging is when, why do I keep doing that? These train terminals, they run out of tickets, and they will run out of tickets. So tomorrow, close to the opening, you're going to try to send back to the train terminal and you won't be able to. And there's nothing that you can do about it. You're just going to be out there floating stuck. Same thing with the plane terminals. They run out of tickets and you can't send to them anymore. So my suggestion is to make sure that you are stocked up on sends and you have your decision made on how you're going to attack the opening, whether it just be floating or sitting in the terminal. So we talked about sends. We talk about buying properties pretty much, right? You get near them and it'll light up green and you'll have a buy button here. And you just want to click that as fast as possible tomorrow. If it's translucent, like or looks like it's inactive, just move along, because if you click it, it's going to say this property is blocked by another user, and there's nothing that is gonna change with that. But if it's full color and it's bold, definitely go for it. Move quickly. We had a question. If you have choice to get the desired destination of plane or train aside from coast, how would you choose?
Yeah.
You have the choice to get to the desired destination.
Do you need the charger?
Oh, well, I would say for LA, the train looks super appealing to me. Like if I'm looking at where I would rather be sitting, I guess this is what the question is. If I'm not going to disembark and I'm just going to sit there, I don't want to disembark from the plane terminal. I want to do so from the train terminal. So I would take the train into LA. Would you agree with that, Tall James?
100%. That's exactly what I'm doing. In fact, I went to Bakersfield as soon as the city was done minting. It was sold out, as you said. The tickets were gone. As soon as it was available, I went to Bakersfield and I took the train all the way back, and I'm sitting there waiting to disembark. Now, the only thing I'll say about that is when you're waiting to disembark, you cannot do anything in the game, which can be very frustrating, because I like to buy the floor and I can't do that until
you can't even change settings, which while I have this open, I kind of talk about this because I'm on the train and there's not much I can do. There's two places where you can see your properties, and that's that building icon there. So they use that building icon twice. They use it for the tool that I showed you guys, where you can see the properties for sale nearby. That's the bottom right, but then that same building, I guess it's not the same, it's a little different. You get it here, and it will show you your properties and your sent offers. This one's important because you might, for some crazy reason, put an offer in on a property and it just sits there. And if you're that person who does that and you want to rescind said offer, this is where you will find it. So again, that's in my 3-dot menu.
Important to note on that is when you make an offer, it will immediately subtract it from your UPEX balance. So if you had 100,000 and you put an offer in for 10,000, now your UPEX available balance will be 90,000. So if you went out and put an offer on 10 properties, then you basically would have 0 UPEX to use to mint with.
Yeah. We're kind of beating around the bush here, but it's just important that these things, I guess, if you're a new user, right?
It's very important. You can definitely mess it up.
Right. Yeah. And so that's where you would find your sent offers. The next button is your collections. I guess we can go ahead and talk about these. So Upland has what is called collections. And when a city opens, usually it's going to open in vanilla mode, where vanilla means plain, which is how LA is opening. So we're not going to know what any of the collections are. We all have to guess. And they go from the lowest scarcity up to the highest. And those are standard, limited, exclusive, rare, and ultra rare. So yellow is ultra rare, red is rare, orange is exclusive, purple is limited, blue is standard. The appeal to these is their boost on your earnings. So for every property that you own in Upland, there is an amount of UPEX that you earn every 3 hours on it. And that amount can be seen if you click on the property and expand it. You can see the monthly earnings here is 6,600 UPIX, roughly 6,700 UPIX. And this boosted earnings here. Now, remember, I told you guys earlier, if the text is blue, you can click it. So that's definitely the case here. This is a cool little trick if you weren't aware of it. Any property in Upland where it shows these boosted earnings, if you click on that, it'll show you what collections that property belongs to. So this one can go into City Pro, King of the Street, or Newbie. You knew that, right, Tall James?
Oh yeah, yeah. I use that trick a lot.
Yeah, I use it every time I go to list something, no matter what.
Yeah.
And I've been playing the game for 2 years, and I should know every collection property. I will never accidentally list one because I do that every single time. I'm just double checking myself and making sure I'm not doing something stupid, listing a collection property at the floor. So what's this?
The same types of things.
Yep. Yeah, and so we can see that this is technically like a non-collection because as we can, let me show that you guys these again. So there's some common collections that every property can go into, and that's the newbie, which any one property that you own, you can stick it into the newbie and collect your 800 UPIX reward, and then immediately start earning 1.1 times the earnings on it. So if it was 800 UPIX a month, you would then get 880 UPIX per month instead of just the 800. The next, I guess, common one is City Pro. Any 5 properties in the same city, they can all go into City Pro, and that's what it showed as the train terminal being able to. That's the highest collection it could go into, and that's a 1.4 times on the collection on the earnings. King of the Street is the other one, and not many fit into this. It's kind of what it sounds like. Own 3 properties on the same street. They literally have to have the same street name on their property card, just because they're like, it looks like they're on the same street physically. Like this corner property sometimes has the other, like the if there was a street right here, it'll have that address and it won't count for these 3. I hope that makes sense.
Probably goes without saying, but it's same city, same street.
Right. Yes,
Yeah,
that doesn't go without saying. You definitely have
Grand Avenue in Oakland and Grand Avenue in Chicago, and
right.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, what is going to be the biggest and honestly the most fun to do is speculating on what Upland has chosen for LA to be their ultra rares, their rare collections, their exclusive, their limited, and their standards. And as I mentioned, downtown and Chinatown are definitely crowd favorites, undeniably. Hollywood is another one.
Yep.
We'll talk more about collection speculation in the UPIX podcast, but I would suggest, if you're not familiar with the Los Angeles area, to go and look through. My favorite is Wikipedia articles. Some of you guys might know that story, but that's where I will go and pull out pieces of data that look like they might be valuable. I think everybody is on the same page with LA and Hollywood being, the home to the film industry. So the Walk of Fame is, that's a good ultra rare speculation. I don't know actually how long that goes, but could be rare, ultra rare.
Yeah.
The guessing is what makes make it so fun tomorrow. Because if you're right on any one of those, especially the higher rarity, like the orange, red, and yellow, it's going to be a huge profit opportunity for you. Do you have anything more for collections? We'll kind of go along here because
Yeah, I mean, you kind of went over some of them, but Bel Air is also a really big area. You know, Fresh Prince
Oh,
of
right.
Bel-Air
Yeah.
was there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Water is, I mean, think real estate, and so things on the water are always usually pretty good. Things
Right.
around stadiums are good.
Right.
And things around colleges oftentimes are really good. So you've got USC. I can't remember where that is. It's right there close to the train station. Then you've also got UCLA up in Westwood. So
Yeah, I think it's Pico Robertson or something. Where's the Playboy Mansion at? I know that I was just
that would
looking
go
at it.
for a lot, right?
I'm gonna go on a limb and say that the Playboy Mansion, that's not it. Somebody give me the address.
Playboy Mansion is in Westwood, they say.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not in Upland and that happens.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the disembark button that you're going to want to either click it or not, but definitely know what you're doing when you click it. I am going to click it, and that's going to send me on my way. You can see is immediately
There's the mid.
Yep, I start traveling, and it chose my direction to be to the right. If this were game time, I would likely be displeased. Oh no, that's going to touch Chinatown. I'll graze likely this area. Another important thing to know is that it doesn't travel the same direction infinitely. At some point, it's going to RNG again and send you in a completely different direction, except backwards. I've never seen it do that. Have you, Tall James?
Nope, never seen it go straight backwards. I've seen it go almost backwards, like probably
Right.
175
Right.
degrees.
Yeah. So any direction that's not directly backwards, it will decide is going to go. It's usually just a veer, like it'll make like a 45-degree turn and start going. And it's usually when you are trying to line it up for something specific that's kind of far away, but you think that you can make it, you'll get just about there, and then it'll decide that it wants to change and completely ruin your day. All right, yeah, Playboy Mansion. Yep, there it is. This pointed interest button also turns on and off these labels, which are imported through a third-party tool called openstreetmaps.org. I think the Playboy Mansion is going to be a landmark, but we'll see. And yeah, so the neighborhood, oh yeah, it is Westwood. So yep. Shout out Rorts. I'll never doubt you again, dude. Turn off those marketplace markers. In my settings, we have marketplace markers. Oh, this one's huge. Show ownership celebrations. You want that off. Everybody go into your settings right now and turn these off. They're the worst. If you've never seen it, I guess leave it on once so that you can see it, but it's going to do nothing but suck up time that is super valuable. If they're off, you'll be able to mint again immediately after you buy one. And otherwise, you're going to have to watch a silly animation and waste like 3 seconds. So definitely turn this off. Show other explorers. I usually have this off, and again, it's for latency. But if you're going for something that, let's say, it's kind of like off in the distance, and you had to send to a property and hope that you're going to travel in that direction, but then it happens and you're heading in that direction, I'll turn it on at that point to see if I'm racing anybody to it and what my chances are of getting it. But otherwise, it's just a waste of time. If it's very evident that somebody else is going to get there first, like I'm not going to waste all my time sitting trying to get to that property knowing that I'm going to fail. So yeah, that's what yep, it's definitely turn off other black explorers around you. For the most part, you want those gone, but there will be times where you're going to want to see if anybody's near you. Let's see what else is in this menu. Settings, FSA markers. You want that on 100%. You can turn this off. I keep 3D objects on just because I like to see them, and it's not going to be a big deal at all in LA. But again, for like latency purposes, you might want to toggle these three, especially if you're on an older computer or if your computer doesn't handle graphics very well. You'll want to toggle those off. So we kind of talked about your status with the FSA and all of that. Tomorrow, my suggestion is to stay FSA for as long as you can, because you're going to have more opportunities than non-FSA. So while the non-FSA are going to have opportunities to buy properties over 100K with ease, the FSA will have the opportunity to buy strictly FSA properties, if that makes sense. Let's see what else. Completing collections, listing for sale. I don't know that these are all kind of necessarily critical and probably beyond the scope of a 1 hour quick tutorial on it. Let me ask the audience, do you guys have any questions? And let's read here what Robert's saying. Anyone who's already non-FSA probably knows, unless they bought in and bypassed FSA level, but the FSA text on properties sometimes doesn't show at certain zoom levels. That is correct. So if you're racing to send somewhere, make sure it's actually purchasable. Yeah, and that's 100% true. Let me see if I can demonstrate that in another city. At certain zoom levels, and it's funny because it'll say FSA on the property right next to it. So let's say like I was at like this zoom level here, this middle one, even though this one, and this one all say FSA, I very well could scroll in. Yeah, look, it did it. I was right. Look at that. See how can you guys see that? Let me see if I can do it again. That was in fact an FSA. Yeah, do you guys see that? How this one here and this one here. Can you guys see my mouse? Yeah, right. So they don't have FSA labels because I'm at some silly zoom level where it doesn't show them all. Just make sure that you're completely zoomed in, like as close as you can get, to make sure that it's not in fact an FSA.
And basically, most of the time, if it's a really tiny property, it's almost guaranteed to be an FSA.
Yeah, so like as Matt Boomy says, lost many ascends to that stupid FSA zoom. We don't want that happening to you tomorrow. Make sure that you know what you're looking at. Here's the buy button, and there is that. Let me see if I can zoom in. So that's what I mean by like the translucent or the inactive, what it looks like. You can see how it's kind of like hazy. If you see that, if it's the mint green or the neon green, and you click on it and then it looks like that, just move on to the next one. Don't even bother, because if you click it, it's gonna tell you that this property has been blocked by another user. So don't even waste your time. Tomorrow is it's going to be critical in your speed to the properties. Tall James, what else do we got?
We've covered most
Quite
of
a bit.
Yeah, we've covered most of the beginner stuff for sure. I mean, there's strategy, of course, but
right, which we're going to cover here in just a bit on the podcast. We're going to go right into that. I'm going to open it up, for a couple minutes, and then I got to send BDAG an invite. And Tall James, you're more than welcome to stay with us.
Sure, I'll do it.
Oh, sweet. Did we mention the sale limit on FSA? No. Excellent. So there's quite a few sale limits, right, that are very important if you're just joining Upland. And they change and they vary. But here's the important ones. When you're FSA eligible, you have the strictest rules placed on you for selling, just period, right? Because they don't want to encourage players to have multiple accounts just so that they can buy FSA properties with those other accounts. And so they try to handicap them as much as they feasibly can. And the first one is you can only sell up to 2 properties per week for UPIX if you are FSA eligible. Or no, not only that,
Period.
FSA eligible. Yeah, period. If the property was purchased and it was an FSA property, you can only sell 2 of them per week, period. That week resets at Saturday, 6 p.m. Central right now, and it's Sunday at 12 UTC, which for me is Saturday 6 p.m. Central. So I could technically, if I were FSA or I had FSA properties, at 5:30 p.m. I could sell 2, and then at 6:01 I could sell 2 more, but then I couldn't sell another 2 until the following 6:01 the next week. It's 2 per week, period. If I went through the process of getting set up to be able to sell properties for cash, so I set up my Tilia, hooked up my PayPal account, I'm ready to sell for USD. You have to hold. This is ridiculous. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's like 6 months, I think, right? Right, Tall James?
Yep, I think that's correct.
Yeah, so you can't sell it for USD for 6 months if you bought it as an FSA. You have to hold it for 6 months. As you progress up the ranks, when you go from Upland, from visitor to Uplander to pro to director to executive, they tear down the restrictions. I'm an executive. I can sell my properties for USD after holding them for 3 days, and I don't think it gets any faster than that. It might. There's one more level above me, but I don't think that they make it faster. Yeah, and so Rorts has a good point here. If you're thinking of multi-accounting and selling FSA properties to yourself for one UPIX, et cetera, to profit, know that people enjoying scanning the blockchain for people doing that kind of thing. And Upland does, in fact, have a jail. It is in Alcatraz, and there are
Lots of people there.
Yeah, there are tons. Let's go take a look. Where's that? Here it is. Oh, I turned other block explorers off. That's why I don't see anybody floating. I might have to refresh. Do I have to refresh? Yeah.
Zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah. It's all good. Trust me, there's people there.
Yep. Lots.
Yeah, there's lots of terms of service, as Mount Doomy points out, there's lots of terms of service things you want to get familiar with so that you don't accidentally, because I know anybody on an NFTGamerTV stream or watching it would never do anything maliciously. So the only possible way it could happen would be by accident, but we're going to educate you to make sure that that doesn't happen. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, is this on? No, it's not. I may or may not have a Chrome extension that I built. I don't know why it's not showing people here. Whatever. Or my case, winning quiz and Discord trade got me stuck in jail for a week. Yep, I remember that. Let's see what else. BDAG, welcome.
Hey, how you doing? Tall James. Hey there.
Hey, BDAG.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so we're like a little bit over, so I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right
yeah.
into the podcast. Let me fire off a mention in
It never would let me put anything in the chat. It was really weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sent you a DM or a text, but it's not that big of a deal. But people kept asking for referrals, and I wasn't able to put one in there.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm
All right, I
excited.
tagged
for
you
this part,
guys.
though.
We're already recording. You guys know how this goes. Let me just drop another everyone here. Recording the UPX podcast. Back. Join. All right. I think I can remove that.